What's going on, guys? We are here in Grand Teton National Park. As you can tell, it is incredibly snowy. We're on some sketchy mountain roads here, and I figured this would be a very, very fitting place to review one of my favorite records of all time, which is Das Tor by Paysage d'Hiver. So, Encyclopedia Metallum considers this record a demo, even though it's 80 minutes long. I'm not really sure where that classification comes into play. Maybe they just consider it a demo because it's got some rough production and it's only 4 songs. But in my opinion, this is a full length, and in my opinion, it is one of the best full lengths, period, ever. And it is just an absolute achievement of atmospheric black metal. So I just want to talk about various aspects of this record that I love so much that I think make it such a successful piece of music. So the vocal performance on this record is a really, really interesting one. They sit incredibly low in the mix, and honestly, to my mind, they sound more like wind than any sort of human speech, which, of course, given the album cover, you know, the atmosphere it's intended to evoke, the lyrics, all of these things taken together, it kind of makes sense that it's such a cold and inhuman vocal delivery. They're very processed, very distorted, very low in the mix, so you can't really pick out any like individual syllables or anything like that, except for like key parts on the record. But I just feel that this is such a critical layer that really makes this record such a successful piece of music. Similarly, the guitars are very raw, you know, almost Burzum-esque in their presentation. It doesn't sound like a lot of effort went into the mixing and mastering part of this record, of this recording process. But that, you know, that's fine, because a whole genre has sprung up around these sort of, not low effort, but low technique and low technology style black metal. And going along with that, you know, honestly, there's probably like 16 riffs total on this entire record. There is a lot of repetition. And I understand that, because when your riffs are this good, you probably just want to play them over and over and really maximize their impact and their effect. That said, I could see how some people would listen to this and just think it's kind of boring, because there isn't a lot of variation. But, you know, look at this. Like, there's not much variation. It's cold and silent and static, and that's really exactly what this record is trying to evoke. Just the sort of dead silence of winter. And I think he does that perfectly well. The drums are interesting. They also, of course, add to the sort of frigid atmosphere. They're programmed, and all the snare hits pretty much sound like they're exactly the same volume, which it's very quiet volume, but they sound like they're all exactly the same volume, which is, of course, not something a human drummer would be able to do without some studio magic anyway. So it's clear that the drums are programmed, and it doesn't really sound like he tried to hide that. Instead of sort of making them try to sound human, he just kind of turn them down and put them low in the mix. But again, that's fine, because it's such a, this whole entire record is more just, it's a vibe. It's more about crafting an atmosphere than it is about, you know, wowing you with his technical prowess. And really, as a whole, that's kind of what atmospheric black metal is all about. It's about the atmosphere, hence the name. So, you know, I don't view it as something I count against the record, right? The drums are exactly what they need to be to make this such an impactful piece of music. Finally, there's a surprising amount of synths on this record, and they're used to Burzum-esque effect as well, where they're sort of, at least in the metal context, they're sort of another layer. Sometimes they do take the forefront and almost carry the melody, but a lot of the time it's just this like 1 or 2 droning synth notes that really elevate the icy atmosphere of the record. And I really have to say, like, this record was hugely influential on me personally, because hearing how effective and impactful and just beautiful this record was, not even in spite of, but because of the production, right? I mean, that's something that, you know, Burzum has been contributing to the scene, I think, or contributed to the early stages of the scene. And I think that's something that Paysage d'Hiver has really, really mastered, because the production is part of the experience. And that's something that really influenced me to sit down and record my own music and not really worry about technical limitations or like whether or not, you know, everything was mixed perfectly, right? It was more about just creating something and getting that music out there and playing it with emotion and feeling, and not worrying about the, I guess, the professionalism of it, right? It was just a hugely influential record for me when I first heard it back in 2013. I cannot say enough good things about this record. This is the 3rd Paysage d'Hiver record I've reviewed on the channel, because I love this project so much. So if you guys haven't heard this one, I definitely recommend you check it out. If you have heard it, let me know what you think of it. Really appreciate you guys watching. Like, subscribe. We are going to get back in the car and get warm. Like I said, appreciate you guys watching. Have a great day.